Have you ever tried to hide, not from someone or something, but you try to hide from something deeper? For example, you got angry, frustrated, even you got really stressed and anxious, but you felt something is watching over you. That's where Rumi says that you cannot run away from the light. Not because light is following you, it's because you are the light. Let's see what Rumi and Eckhart Tolle say about this. Rumi says, آن شمع رخ تو لگنی نیست بیا وان نقش تو از آب منی نیست بیا, which means that that candle of your face is not a reflection in the water bowl. Come. And that picture of you is not an illusion in water. Come. It reminds me of a story that a guy was invited by his friend to go on a silent meditation retreat for 12 days. And he really didn't believe in spirituality, the power of presence, or anything like that. He just was going along because he had a few days off. So when he went, he had to hand over his telephone and he had to be silent and not talking to anyone, not being in social media anymore. And then after a couple of days, he was going insane because deep down, he didn't believe in any of these things. He was so much caught in his head all the time. And also, he believed on the things that are very conventional, like was not really believing in the power of being in a present moment, power of now, or anything spiritually wise. So he was very bored. But the thing was that he had no other option. So after a few days, I think after 5 days, being really frustrated with this, but then because there was no distraction, because there was no conversation, and because he hadn't had access to social media, I think one day he woke up and felt different. He felt that now he can actually notice the color of the plants and the leaves and the noise in the environment and people's presence. So he changed a little bit after a few days. He could feel something which was being able to be kind of in a present moment, what we call, but he didn't know what's the difference, but he could feel the presence. And it wasn't because he was running away from presence necessarily, but because he was so much caught in his head all the time that he couldn't see the beauty on the things that happening around him. And that included the plants, the colors, even the table, people's presence around him, right? So after a few days, he felt something that wasn't accessible to him before, but it doesn't mean that he didn't have it all the time. Yes, of course, he had the presence, he had the consciousness, but he wasn't aware of it on the day-to-day life. Why? Because he was stuck in his head all the time, and that applies to a lot of us. So Rumi says that no matter how much you run away from it, it will still follow you because you are the light. And about that, Eckhart Tolle says that we are the presence, we are the consciousness. And if we get untangled from these things that happen in our head, we will be able to enjoy who we are more. In the next verse, Rumi says, در خشم مکن تو خویشتن را پنهان کان حس تو پنهان شدنی نیست بیا. And he says, don't hide yourself in anger, and because that who you are is not hideable in a feeling like anger, so come. We can't hide ourselves in anger. And It reminds me of the story of this lady who had his father really sick. So his father was really sick and unwell, and she was praying and doing everything that in her power, because she believed in the power of the universe and all these positive things. And she was praying for a long time, really believing that it's going to work. But then what happened was that because her dad was terminally ill, he passed away. And as a result, that woman got really angry and frustrated with the divine, with the present, with her try and meditation to be in a present moment, and all these prayers she thought that went to waste. Why? Because the dad died regardless of all her effort. So a lot of anger came up. But in the end of the day, when at night she wanted to sleep, she had her father's picture, and then she lit a candle next to it, and for a minute she felt being in the present moment, felt connected to her dad. So she couldn't really hide the feeling of being in a present moment. She couldn't feel kind of destroy the real connectedness to the dad and the present moment and the divine, despite all these angers and frustrations for the death of her dad, regardless of her effort and praise. So we can't hide who we are, which is the light, in anger. About that, Rumi says that the anger usually comes as this conversation in our head that clutters us and says that, we are very frustrated because we cannot get to what we needed. And because of the fact that we are so attached to the outcome, when we don't get the outcome that we want, we get angry. But when we don't follow this commentary in our head that our happiness depends on this outcome, when we are able to be in a present moment, the power of anger will be lifted. And this is where Eckhart Tolle says that sometimes you need to accept the feeling of anger and observe it, and as you do, it dissolves. So Rumi says, you aren't the illusion. You are not anger. You are the light.